Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed that little, I guess it's a preview video that I did of the Orbx Edgley Optica. So tonight, we're actually going to do the full flight of the Orbx Edgley Optica. So this is our chariot for today. And let's go ahead and pop that open here. All right, so we'll start off in weight and balance because that is a pretty important place to start. So we've got 85% of fuel in both tanks here, and it's just going to be us flying, so 170 pounds, a little lighter than I actually weigh, but it'll work. And of course, we've got the trim weights. Now, this side here is actually pretty important, which is one of the reasons why we started here instead of the usual other places, the aircraft selection and liveries. So with this particular aircraft, the CG position does not move. It is fixed by Orbx at this value, which is 36.50. There's a reason for that. Once we get into the aircraft, I'm going to show you what the ballast system looks like. And the ballast system is how you can maintain the center of gravity of this aircraft, depending on, how much fuel you've got and who's on board and how much weight you're carrying and so on and so forth. So you will not need to mess with this at all. Orbx has already done the homework on this, and just leave it as is. The only thing you need to do is put in fuel and decide if you're carrying cargo and so on. But bear in mind, it will have an effect on your balance. But we'll go over that a little bit more once we get into the cockpit. Okay, so we'll go backwards here. We'll go to the aircraft selection tool. As you can see, this is how it appears among the lineup. And quick facts on it: 70 knots cruise speed, pretty slow. So I may be using the magic of editing on this video here because it's going to take us a while to get from our departure to our arrival. But we can go max altitude of 14,000 feet. We can stay in the air for 8 hours on full tanks of gas. And our range is about 570 nautical miles. So we're not going to go very far, but we can stay in the air really long. And you may notice that this aircraft has a very unusual shape to it. Aside from the ducted fan, the cockpit itself is designed to be more like a helicopter, in particular the Alouette style, or probably close to the Gazelle style as well. That is by design, because this thing is designed to be an observation platform, hence the long loiter time. All right, so liveries. This is what you get from the Orbx livery package. So you've got your regular one there, you've got another one there, you've got your surveillance prototype, you've got your Scoutmaster, what appears to be, I guess that's an Australian livery, and then of course the blue and the yellow. No purple, and even though I'm still bugging Orbx to get me a purple livery, they're like, well, it's got purple carpet, that's got to count, right? It does. Thank you, Orbx. But I really would like to have a purple. So we're going to use the blue one instead because I can. And of course, our usual registration, November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo. All right, so where are we flying today? I wanted to do an Orbx airport. And the only one that I could really think of that I think would be perfect for this aircraft is Siletz Bay State in Glen Eden Beach, which is in Oregon. So let's zoom into Mother Earth here. And I've already set it for early morning, so just after sunrise, so we may or may not see some fog rolling in or rolling out, as the case may be. For our flight, it's going to be a 1-hour flight, 69 nautical miles. Like I said, I'll probably use the magic of editing at some point in time in the middle of this because it's going to take a while. But we're going to be taking off from Seaside Municipal Airport, which is just north of Tillamook Head, which is the mountain just to the south of there, and also just north of Haystack Rock, which I really want to take a look at. Now, I've actually been to Seaside, the town of Seaside. It is gorgeous. And I did take a test flight earlier, and they have faithfully recreated this town. So I'm looking forward to showing that to you and telling you about my experiences out there in Oregon. Then we're going to head south, and we're basically just going to follow the Pacific coastline here until we get to Siletz Bay State. So that's where we're going to be landing. This is an older Orbx scenery. It's actually a classic. It's one of the first Bill Womack sceneries that we've ever gotten from Orbx. It is an awesome little place. So looking forward to showing that to you after we land. We'll get out and walk around. But none of that's going to happen until we actually hop into the bird and get started. So let's do that, shall we? All right, folks, welcome to Seaside, Oregon. This is an absolutely wonderful place. I was here in 2009 with the woman that I was dating at the time. Her name was Heather, and she took me here to one of the, I guess, bed and breakfast, I think it's what it's called, that they had there. It was pretty cool stuff. So, yeah, it was only a weekend that I was here, but it definitely made a lasting impression on me. And it's one of those places that I'd love to be able to see again. Unfortunately, Heather is no longer with us, but I do like to keep her memory alive by coming here every now and then. And of course, since Heather was a big gamer, you might say that she eventually became the personality that you know on this channel as Ali or Alianis. So, yes, that's pretty much the source of Ali there is Heather. All right, but before we get too bogged down in memories here, let me show you a little bit about the Orbx Edgley Optica. So, it's a pretty basic plane, really. There's not much to it. There is not much to it at all, but we do have quite a fair amount of real estate. We can hold two passengers there. The one in the middle, of course, can act as a co-pilot, and the one on the side, well, I guess that would be the one with the camera since this is an observation aircraft. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. You will find it is really easy to get this thing started. So we're going to do that momentarily. But first, I did want to tell you a little bit about the whole ballast system. So if you look up here, you're going to see ballast position indicator. Right now, I'm perfectly balanced. But if you look at the little chart above, if you are off balance, whether to the fore or to the aft, in other words, to the front or to the back, those lights will come on and make you aware that you are basically out of trim or out of balance. So if that happens, then obviously you have to adjust your weight accordingly. This is a very strange aircraft, and you do have to be in balance in order to take off. Otherwise, things go badly really quickly. Okay, but the sun has just risen, and we have a relatively long flight ahead of us, so let's go ahead and get everything started. We'll start by getting the battery and generator on, and you can see that already has our GPS running, but we'll have to turn the transponder on later. All right, and I also like to get the little panel lights on, so we'll go ahead and turn that on really quick. Okay, now these two red controls here are fuel valves, so we want the one for the right tank on and the one for the left tank. This is, of course, our mixture knob, so we're going to put that up to full in a moment, full rich. This is how we select our tanks. I don't know if you can see that there. But right now it's currently set to left. We'll switch it to right after. We got to balance out the fuel as well, and these are our fuel gauges down here. Pretty straightforward stuff. These are all of our engine gauges. So this is all stuff that we will glance at from time to time just to make sure everything is kosher. And let me go ahead and get our mixture knob up. There is no prop pitch in this thing. You may notice that we are running on a ducted fan. So the prop is inside that shroud. It's a very unique design, but I think it is really cool. All right, let's get some lights up in here. So nav lights, turn you on. And of course, my sim is going to hesitate for a moment as it does that. Sheesh. Okay, Asobo, why does it do that? Fix that, please. We'll also get our strobe lights on while we're at it. And we'll forego the landing and taxi lights until we're actually ready to roll. But we are ready to start up now, so let's go up here to our ignition key, and we will turn both mags on. And we're just about ready. I don't see anyone around, so clear prop. All right, throttle is in the idle position. It's not going to take that long for us to warm this aircraft up, but I'm going to keep us idling just below about 1,000 RPM. So right there should be good as we wait for the oil to come up. Let's get our transponder on, so we'll set it to standby for now. And one weird thing I've noticed about this is it starts out saying 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to change that. So we'll set it to 1, 2, 0, 0. There we go. All right, that's exactly where we want to be. Okay, so we've got, according to our GPS plan here, about 8.3 miles until we get to Haystack Rock. So just to give you an idea, if you caught it from the outside view as we were coming into the bird here, we're going to go past Tillamook Head, which is the big mountain peak that is just to the south of Seaside. Once we pass Tillamook Head, we're going to be over by Cannon Beach. Cannon Beach is where Haystack Rock is, and it will be pretty noticeable. If you've never seen it before, you're in for a rare treat. All right, how are we doing on engine here? We're still waiting for everything to pop up. That's fine. We can do that. In the meantime, let's go to the outside view really quick, and we will do our controls wipeout just to make sure everything is kosher. Okay, and looks like everything checks out. So let's see how we're doing on our oil temperature. It looks like it's still a little bit cool, but we should be all right to take off though. All right, so everything's pretty much set. Now, I don't believe that Seaside has a tower. I think it's Unicom, so we'll pull that up really quick here. Yes, 5-6 Sierra traffic on 122.9er. And let's see, Windsock says the wind is coming out of the north, so I guess we should probably take that into consideration. So select runway for takeoff. We want runway 34, and we're going to taxi.
56 Sierra traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is taxiing to runway 34.
Good enough for me. All right, so taxiing this thing is really easy. You give it a little bit of power, you come off the brakes, and you get going. Really straightforward stuff. It doesn't get much easier than that. Let me get our lights on here. So I've got both the taxi and the landing lights bound to the same switch on my Virpil throttle. So that's why they both came on at the same time. All right, parking brakes off. Give it a little power here. Now, under normal circumstances, this aircraft is rather loud. I have adjusted the volume inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator, so hopefully it's not that overpowering. But we'll see how well that works. All right, I don't see anybody on that side. Love the little satellite dishes on top of everybody's house there. That's kind of cool. And this thing does like to taxi fast, especially if you're on a hill, so be advised. Also, with us being so low to the ground, it feels a little weird. It's almost like you're in an ultralight, except with the canopy of a helicopter. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. That's all I can really say. All right, it's going to take us a little bit to get down there. So, as always, we're going to cut to the outside view. And when we come back, we'll be right at the hold short. Oh boy, I don't mind telling you folks, that is an awfully tight turn. Really did not expect that. But since we're here at the hold short, let's take the time to get everything set up. So we'll set this to alt. We've already got our landing lights on. Let's get the pitot heat on because the air does tend to be pretty moist here in Oregon. And we'll get our fuel pump on as well for takeoff. Now trim. Trim I like to set in between the T and the R. I know it seems kind of weird, but that seems to be, in my opinion, the best place to set it for takeoff. All right, everything else does look good. I'm kind of dreading coming around this corner here, so let's first tell everyone that we are getting the heck out of here. We're going to depart south, even though we're taking off to the north.
Sierra traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo taking off runway 34 south departure.
All right, now I don't see any traffic coming in, and I don't see any traffic going out, so let's get our parking brakes. Oh, they were already off. Okay. Oh, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Okay, I'll take it. I will take it. All right, so as we get ready to say goodbye to Seaside, we'll go ahead and line ourselves up here really quick on runway 34. So we'll take off and we'll make a left-hand turn, and I will show you Seaside from, well, the seaside. All right, there we go. We'll cut to the outside view as we're taking off. So let's get brakes down, throttles up, and we're going to need full power for this one. Brakes off, and let's go, go, go. Oh boy, this is going to get interesting. Right around 65, 70, we should lift off the ground. So we're going to switch it to the outside view right now. All right, so that was not a bad takeoff at all. It's actually pretty decent. And we are heading over to the town of Seaside. Now, I'm not quite sure if I can actually find the bed and breakfast that we stayed in, but I do remember those beaches. That's for sure. I remember that the sand just lasted forever until it actually got to the Pacific Ocean. So that's kind of cool that that is replicated here. Of course, I'm not surprised. It's Microsoft Flight Simulator, so we expect that to be a thing here with the photogrammetry and all of that good jazz. I should also mention that I do currently have photogrammetry off. I rather prefer to have photogrammetry off because it is notorious for robbing me of frames per second. And especially when I'm trying to do a recording such as now, that gets to be a little old really quickly. So you'll have to forgive me if I don't have the photogrammetry on, but you can kind of take my word for it. A lot of these buildings do actually look like that, except maybe that funky looking one, unless that's the aquarium. I know there is an aquarium up here. I don't recall it looking like that though. And there's the downtown area of Seaside. So if I remember correctly, just beyond the downtown area, the place that we stayed is in one of those really skinny houses facing the promenade there. Wish I remembered the name of it, but I'm sure it'll pop up as commentary right now. But it's in one of those houses there. It was the best place that I've ever stayed. It had so much charm to it. It was so cool. All right, so this is Tillamook Head, and typically what you can expect when you are in Oregon in the mornings and also at night, typically we'll have fog around here. So you'll get what's known as lenticular clouds, and it's really cool to see. So you have the fog that rolls in from the Pacific, and of course, since we've got a mountain right there, it forms a weird shape around the mountain. And I'm thinking it's probably because of the winds coming off the mountain itself. And it actually looks like somebody puts a bowl upside down on top of Tillamook Head. And it stays there for a little while in the morning. And eventually, as temperatures rise, so do the clouds, and the cloud disappears. But it's kind of cool to see. And I'll see if I can find a picture of it, and I'll show that to you right now just to kind of give you an idea. But it's one of the neatest things to see if you are ever in Oregon, in this particular part of Oregon here. It's Tillamook Head. And that is it right there. It's a shame I never got the opportunity to actually go exploring or mountain climbing up there, because I think I would have loved to have seen what the view looks like from on top. I didn't notice any helipads or anything, so I guess taking a helicopter up there is out. All right, and as we pass by Tillamook Head, you're going to notice another beach area up ahead. That is going to be where Cannon Beach is, and of course Haystack Rock is a little bit further down from there. Now we're going to pull some shenanigans because I really want to show off Haystack Rock. It is phenomenal looking. But now the beach that we are seeing up ahead and all these various islands and whatnot may or may not look familiar to you. I don't know how many of you remember the 80s movie called The Goonies. Well, The Goonies was filmed in this area. So yeah, that entire movie took place in Oregon, and a lot of the natural caves and so on and so forth and little islands, that's all stuff that was right here. And there you can see Haystack Rock directly ahead. You can't miss it. It's the biggest thing sticking out of the water right there. And we are going to hit the deck. So it's time for some shenanigans. Let's make sure that everything is looking good. We're not going to bother to call the tower because they're going to be like, what the heck is that guy doing? Did that guy just go into the Pacific? I did not. I did not. All right, well, we're going to go to idle. And we're going to drop like a rock. This is where it's going to get interesting. We'll go to the outside view as we're doing our shenanigans here, and then we'll come back in as we overfly Haystack Rock. So there it is, folks. That is Haystack Rock. So named because, well, it looks like a haystack, doesn't it? Probably one of the most prominent features along the Oregon coastline. And I'm really glad to see that they did it justice here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's exactly what it looks like. That is exactly what it looks like. Wow, that's awesome. So there's Cannon Beach, and like I said, this whole area was part of the area that was used in the filming of the Goonies. I should also mention, if you've ever played the video game Life is Strange, it's supposed to be set in this area as well. Even though, of course, the town that they used was a fictitious town, a lot of the scenery that you see in that game is pretty much taken from areas such as Cannon Beach here. All right, I think that's enough shenanigans, so we'll put the throttle back up and we'll get a little bit of trim. We did hear somebody coming on the radio. We are on Unicom, of course, so let me see if we can contact, I think this is Seattle Center. Yes. And we'll do flight following.
Seattle Center, November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is type 10 miles south of 56 Sierra at 200 feet. Request flight following.
That's got to sound weird.
Landmark 7411, please expedite your climb flight level 310.
Oh boy, Landmark's acting up again.
November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo, Seattle Center. Squawk 6162.
Okay, will do.
Squawk 6162 Alpha Golf Bravo.
There it is.
Alpha Golf Bravo radar contact 10 miles north of Tree Sierra 7600 feet. Altimeter tree 0.20.
Ooh. Wow, it's a good thing she said that. Huh.
Portland 41 Tango, contact Portland approach on 126.0.
Roger, Alpha Golf Bravo.
Okay, so that pretty much has us set to go, and we've got about 58 nautical miles until we get to our destination.
126.0 for Diamond, 41 Tango.
And I am going to set us up for a nice angle here. There we go. So it says we've got about 37 minutes to get there, and honestly, a lot of it is going to be scenic flying. But even though it is rather beautiful in this neck of the woods, it's also going to make the video considerably longer. So I'm going to be cutting it here and there. As we cut to the external camera view, I'll just kind of nudge us forward a little bit. So with that having been said, let's go to the outside view and take a look at the world around us.
Landmark 7411, please expedite your climb flight level 310.
Okay, it is a few minutes later, and we're a little bit further south. And as you can see, some of those low-lying clouds are starting to no longer become fog, and it's starting to get in my way here. We are at 3,300 roughly, and yep, it certainly does look like this is becoming IFR weather. So we've got a couple of choices here. We could either go above it, or we can go below it. Since I'm basically relying on my landmarks here, I'm thinking we may want to go below it. So I'm going to trim us down a bit here. And we'll see if we can get just below the cloud deck, which I'm assuming is probably going to be closer to, I don't know, maybe 3,000 feet. Doesn't look like there's much here, but just to be on the safe side, we'll bring it down. We're over the ocean anyway, so it's not like we're going to smack into a mountain unless, of course, I let go of the controls and she decides to fly wherever the heck she wants. She has been known to do that. There is no autopilot in this aircraft at all. So be careful is all I'm saying. If you take hands off, make sure that you are perfectly trimmed. Otherwise, you're going to end up someplace where you least expect it. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's swing out to the right here a little, just to get around this cloud. Why? Because we can. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Unfortunately, I don't remember all the names of these little seaside towns and cities that we're passing by, but of course I'll have everything popping up as pop-up commentary and the names of these bays and whatnot, so that way you have an idea of what it is that you are looking at. But it really drives home the point that this aircraft is incredible when it comes to visibility. Granted, of course, you can't see what's going on directly below you, except, of course, the lovely purple carpet that we've got. But still, if you look to the right, now you can, and you can definitely see there's an inlet there. That looks really awesome. I can't wait till we've got some default moving boat traffic. I want to say that there should already be, but I don't think there is enough of it for it to really make an impact in your flight sim. And I know that there's still some areas of opportunity that Microsoft has when it comes to the interaction with water, especially as far as aircraft are concerned. As of July 27th, we're supposed to be getting Sim Update 5, which I do believe should bring things like tire smoke and water spray and whatnot. However, one thing that still remains unaddressed is how water interacts with aircraft. So like bobbing up and down when you're doing a step taxi on the water. Yeah, that stuff still isn't in there. So Microsoft, Asobo, you still have a little bit of work to do, but that's okay. I'll forgive you this time around. And as you can see, even though I trimmed us down, we still ended up right back where we started from. So I am not quite sure what is going on with that. Like I said, there's no autopilot. I'm pushing my autopilot disconnect button just to see if that makes a difference, and of course it isn't, because there's no autopilot at all. So we'll trim her down even more. And as I say that, we're coming right into a cloud here. So yeah. You know what? Let's check it out from the outside view. I love that little camera that's like right on top of the cockpit here. All right, not too shabby. Of course, we're picking up a little bit of the turbulence as we go over these hills here. That's a combination of the wind going around the hills and, of course, any thermals that may be present as the day gets brighter and the ground gets hotter. So the hot air starts to rise there. But yeah, this is awesome. This is really bringing back a lot of memories, and I think this is the perfect aircraft to go sightseeing. Granted, I'm not in a rush, so that makes it even better. But yeah, I absolutely love this. Look at that. So we got some more haystack rock looking islands out there. Pretty neat stuff. I love this. All right, let's keep it right around 3,000. So we'll pitch ourselves up just a touch. Right about there is good. And we did increase speed a little bit. So we're at, what is that, 105 knots? Which means our estimated time is now rapidly declining. It's at 17 minutes and 34 miles. I want to say we need to go past not that first hill, but the second hill there that's kind of jutting out into the Pacific. And that'll pretty much be where we will need to be. Now, I believe one of these places is Pacific City, and there's like a lot of little hole-in-the-wall airports in this area. It looks like we could actually land on that sandbank, but I'm not going to tempt fate there. Maybe if I were in a tail dragger or something like that, I might do that, but definitely not in this bird. This aircraft, even though it is just at home on grass as it is on concrete and asphalt, not so sure how well we would fare with sand, however. But yeah, so we should be passing by a lot of those areas that have little hole-in-the-wall airports. I want to say Pacific City is one of them. I know Tillamook is another, but Tillamook is actually further inland. It was one of the airports that I was thinking of using for this particular video, but then at the last minute I decided that I'd rather take off from Seaside, since that's an area that I know, and I'm not all that familiar with Tillamook. Although I will say this, Tillamook has some amazing cheddar cheese. Holy crap. I remember when I was coming back from this trip to Oregon and I had to fly through San Francisco, I went to the seafood restaurant that they had there and I had them make me up a blue crab and Tillamook cheddar omelet. Yeah, I know, the combination sounds weird, right? But trust me when I tell you, it is one of the best omelets I've ever eaten. Crab, so fresh, and that trademark Tillamook cheddar. There's no other cheddar that tastes like it, and it was just awesome. It was the perfect way to end the perfect vacation. And then, of course, we got back on the plane in San Francisco and headed back to PA. Yeah, little did I know that would be the last time that I would ever see Heather. So, yeah. It is what it is. All right, continuing on, 30 miles left, 16 minutes to go. I think now is probably a good time for us to go back to the outside view as we pass by this little peninsula here. And when we get past the second peninsula, that should be pretty much our top of descent to come into Siletz Bay. So once again, back to the outside we go to check out the scenery. Okay, so we are definitely getting a little bit closer. We've got about 9 minutes flying time, 18 miles to go. So that is the peninsula that we need to get over, and then we'll begin our descent. Now, on the way into Siletz Bay, there should be, of course, Siletz Bay itself, and then just beyond that is the marshlands. And then we have the little town of Glen Eden Beach, which will be, of course, on the Pacific coast side, so on the right-hand side of the airport. As we make our way in, we'll be flying over Lincoln City. I think everything's a bit of a misnomer here because there's really nothing city-like that I've seen about Lincoln City. It's a pretty small place, but it's quaint, so we'll give it that. It is quaint. Let's see, we got, that's a nice little property you got there. Holy crap. Can you imagine what it's like to have to mow all of that? Sheesh. Craziness. I wonder if that's a country club. It doesn't look like a golf course. I don't see any sand traps anywhere. Still, nice looking neighborhood there. And it's sufficiently tall enough, it's on top of a cliff, that if you happen to get any tsunamis in here, you may survive. It's kind of weird, too. I used to have, well, I guess there were nightmares. They were just weird dreams to me. They weren't really bad dreams. But I used to have weird dreams about tsunamis in Oregon. I don't believe Oregon has ever actually experienced one, but because of the fact that, there's a lot of these little flat areas there, in case of tsunami, yeah, you would definitely be evacuating and heading for the hills, literally. And that was one thing that I remember when I was in Seaside, was seeing all these signs all over the place that said, in case of tsunami, this is your evacuation route. Kind of similar to being in Florida, where you have the hurricane evacuation routes. It was a little disconcerting, but thankfully never had to experience that. So here's hoping that the folks that live in places like this never have to go through that. Sounds like it would be a terrible way to start your morning. All right, but here is our hill. We are at 3,400 feet. And we're about 13 miles away, so I think now's a good time for us to contact nearest airport list. Okay, there's Pacific City. We just passed there. Siletz Bay is what we're looking for. And S45 traffic. Select a runway for landing. We want runway 17. Full stop landing and announce position.
Sierra 45 traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo 14 miles north, 3,400 feet inbound to land runway 17.
All right, that should be good for now. So as soon as we get over this hill here, since of course the air will try to push us up on this side and push us back down on the other, once we get over all of this, we'll begin our descent. Now, it's kind of difficult to see, and I'm leaning forward here for extra emphasis. So we've got Lincoln City directly up ahead. That's over by that large lake there. And then further beyond that, you'll see another little body of water. That's actually Siletz Bay. And just beyond that is the airport that we're going to be landing at today. So the neighborhood of Glen Eden will be to the right of that. And let me just check there. I always get a little bit cautious whenever we start bobbing up and down like that. I don't get motion sickness, not in VR, but it's still a little bit disconcerting to all of a sudden see your dashboard moving all over the place. All right, let's go ahead and bring us to idle, however, so that way we can start descending. I'm going to turn our landing lights on while I'm at it. There we go. All right, this is going to be a fairly quick drop, but eventually my plan is to trim us for about between 80 and 70 knots. But first we need to make sure that we're properly lined up with the airport. So now you can start to see a little bit better the area of Lincoln City and all the various suburbs. Unfortunately, I forget the names of all the suburbs, and I'm not even going to pop that up. But I do love the beachfront, though. And that is one thing that I will always remember about Oregon, is that incredible beachfront. So beautiful, so beautiful. Definitely unlike the Atlantic seaboard, where a lot of the sand has eroded over time. The Pacific just has these, what I would consider miles and miles of beach that just extend forever before you even get to the Pacific Ocean. It's so awesome. I love it. Definitely do miss it. All right, as we make our way over Lincoln City and head towards the airport, once again, let's go back to the outside view for a little and take a look at our surroundings. All right, so we are getting a little bit closer to home. We continue flying over the city and villages and all that good jazz here. And now you can see Siletz Bay itself, as well as the marshlands just to the south. And that grayish spot directly ahead, that's our airport. Okay, so we should probably work on getting some flaps out. So let me trim us up for speed here. Like I said, I'm shooting for between 70 and 80. We'll drop flaps 1. There we go. And we may need to dip the flaps a little bit more, but we'll see how we fare here on this descent. I do want to trim us up a little bit more because we're going kind of fast. Want a nice, easy approach here. And as soon as I get to the beginnings of the bay, I will contact them on Unicom and make them aware that we're coming in. Well, that's a cool looking building. I wonder if that's maybe a hospital. Looks kind of big to be apartment complexes. Could be a hotel though. Yeah, it's definitely got hospital vibes to me. All right, cool beans. So there's the beginning of Glen Eden right there. And it looks like we are on a pretty good approach. We're at 900 feet right now. So let's go ahead and make them aware that we're coming in.
Sierra 45 traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is on final runway 17 to land.
Okay, good deal, good deal. And we're still coming in a little bit fast here. We're at 80. So I'm going to trim us up just a touch. I want us to be around 400 feet for our descent rate, and our speed to be closer to 75 knots because, yeah, there's not a whole heck of a lot of runway at this airport. But let's go outside really quick and make sure that we at least look kosher for our lineup. All right, so as we pass over the marshlands here, we are looking good. I'm going to give us a little bit of throttle here. There's Glen Eden, and here is our runway. Now, I wonder how much crosswind we've got, because we seem to be drifting a little bit here. And this is going to be tricky. There's not a whole heck of a lot of runway, so we're going to need to bring her down fairly quickly after we get over this golf course here. Woohoo! Yeah, that's a little sketchy. I'm not going to lie, folks. That is a little sketchy. All right, right about here is good. We'll start pulling the power back. And power off. A little bit of flare. Very little flare. And we're down. Holy crap, we're down. Okay, we've got half a runway to work with here, so let's hit the brakes. We're below our stall speed, so this is good. And will we stop in time is the real question. The answer is yes. There was never any doubt, was there? Alrighty, folks, welcome to Siletz Bay. Like I said, this one is created by Bill Womack of Orbx and was actually one of the first ones that we had gotten from Orbx as far as airports for FSX and so on. It has since, of course, made its way here, and I'm really glad to see this one because this one is, in my opinion, a classic. So it will take us a while to taxi to our parking spot, so I'm going to do that off camera here. And at least this turn is a little bit better than it was back at Seaside, so there is that. And we will finish up our video with a look around the airport. All right, so we made it safely to the ramp. So let's see. How about we park next to that? I guess that's a beach. Yeah, it looks like it might be a beach. All right, so we'll pick a little T spot here just to the left of that. Let's see if we can turn ourselves around here. Try not to get our wings into the forest. That would be great. All right, right about there should do. A little bit more forward, I think. So there we go. Right there. And as you can see, even though some of the props, if you will, or scenery objects have been carried over from FSX, it looks like a lot of stuff has actually gotten a facelift to the point where they've even managed to include some of the default Asobo characters around here. So we're going to take a look at that as the last thing that we do today. So as we power everything down, I, of course, do want to thank you for watching. This has been BelGeode. And I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, the aircraft that we've been showing off and this airport that we are at are both by Orbx. So the aircraft was the Orbx Edgley Optica, and the airport is Siletz Bay or Sierra 45. Both of them are available on Orbx Central, so if you are interested, feel free to go ahead and pick it up. This aircraft definitely gets 2 thumbs up from me. It is definitely not something I would want to fly all the time, considering how slow it goes. But whenever I want to go to someplace where I really want to check out the scenery, this will be my go-to. So kudos to you, Orbx, on this one. Well done. Well done. All right, let's go ahead and power her off. So we'll get our mixture knob down. And we'll turn off the fuel. There we go. And one thing we did not do is we did not switch our tanks. You'll notice that the left tank is a little bit lower than the right. But in future, if you're taking like long excursions, you do want to flip it from one side to the other. All right, but that will just about do it for me. So again, I tell you, thank you for watching. And if you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I'll be back sometime real soon with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator goodness. I'm going to forego turning off the battery right now because we know what's going to happen if I do that. And I really want to end the video with a little walk around of Siletz Bay. So thanks again, folks. And this is BelGeode signing off. I will talk to you all really soon. Ciao.